Greetings and welcome back to Zord's Planetary Space Program episode 3. Today we are continuing our expansion of the infrastructure network or something that we're building with this thing that we're launching right now, which is probably going to become a corner piece in our infrastructure. And as you see, it's pretty much a normal tanker. It has a few tricks to it that will become clear when we use them. But for now, we're just pushing this thing up into orbit with the 4 main sails. We are lifting a lot of fuel as usual, so we need a lot of power. And well, the idea here is that this thing is going to be placed in orbit around Minmus, with as much fuel as possible left in it. And it's a good thing then that we already have a fair amount of fuel in orbit, so we can refuel this thing. And we're also going to make use of the nuclear engines we launched last time to make this more efficient. And you'll see exactly what I mean in a few minutes. This one is also equipped with extra docking ports, and it has bigger RCS reserves, all for the purpose of making it more self-sufficient. So there we go, we are in orbit. Now we're just going to rendezvous station. And we have managed to get ourselves inclined, so we'll just correct that, quick and easy. And we should refuel it because it's running out of fuel. As I said, it is a good thing we already have a fuel depot in orbit, so we don't really need to worry. Our fuel usage is more a matter of efficiency rather than a matter of mission success. And now we just wait while we near the encounter, do a bit of corrections, and then we need to wait again for the next closest approach. And thankfully all the waiting brings us back to the day side so we can see what's going on. Now this ship is very heavy. It has almost 2 full orange fuel tanks, so it's hard to control with the RCS thrusters, or it's hard to do translation and to accelerate and decelerate, which is what I'm trying to do here with the RCS thrusters, and it's going about as well as one could expect. But eventually we managed to stop the ship and get it going in the right direction. And as you see, there's a lot of extra RCS thrusters just above the engines, and there's also tiny RCS tank above each engine, which is running out of RCS, so I go and refuel it. And this is because, well, for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, the engines are detachable, and when they are detached, they are separate small spaceships that can move around with RCS. And this is also the reason we launched the nuclear engines. They are also separate crafts. And this means that now that we're docked in a few seconds here, we can switch the engines. We can change engines on this craft. And this is good because this way we have a fuel tanker with nuclear engines without having to launch a fuel tanker with nuclear engines. And this is how you change them. You just detach, undock the engine, and you fly it away with some little RCS thrusters. Now the engines were in the other end of the station. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's not really hard. So you dock the first engine, and well, I wasn't really sure here how to do it. I hadn't thought about this in advance. So what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to undock one of the new engines and fly it over and take the old one's place, which is what I do eventually. The engines are fairly maneuverable. Well, at least the chemical ones are fairly maneuverable. These nuclear engines are harder to control due to the center of mass being further from the thrusters. It's where you can't really do translation without inducing heavy rotation. As you see here, it's yeah, you have to compensate almost as much as you're maneuvering. But you maneuver them over, and yeah, this takes a long time. So I just cut everything, and here you see the craft fully fueled and with the new shining engines. And yeah, let's take this to Minmus. This should not have a problem going there on its own without using any of its cargo, that is. So we just plan a maneuver. It's boring, so cut it away. That also. And yeah, now we wait to do our maneuver. Of course, turning the spaceship helps, and switching on the engines helps as well. We're just gonna rotate this one around to point in correct direction, slowly and gently. This is sped up 4 times, so yeah, we take our time, and we do a quick engine test to push ourselves away from the station and to get an estimate on estimated burn time for the maneuver. And we see that we're gonna need to do a very long burn for this. So I plan the maneuver so that I do half the burn before the node and half of the burn after the node. This should work, and well, it's really I think it's the best way to do it. Here I run into problem, well, not a problem, it's a difficulty. The nuclear engines do not appear to be thrust vectoring. And I know this is a bug, because I tried other nuclear engines and they are indeed thrust vectoring. But these aren't for some reason. It's a bug. So I'm thinking maybe I accidentally turned it off or something, but no. As far as I can tell, it's a bug, and I'll just have to use the RCS thrusters for the corrections. Thankfully you can do that now with the improved SAS system. It's not a problem really. And yeah, we have installed our first mod in honor of this expansion, the Kerbal alarm clock, just to help us keep track of when things happen. And now we're back on Kerbin to launch another batch of nuclear engines, modular nuclear engines, for the station. It's going to be used on future crafts that may need them. This is the exact same craft, the exact same launch vehicle I used last time. The only difference at all between this one and the last one is I do not have that long strut, the long truss section with the docking ports, because that one's already up there. And yeah, if you watched the last time, you remember that there was a slight deficiency in this vehicle, which was the lack of batteries, and I did not fix that. I forgot it. So we'll see if that turns out to be a problem. For now, it's not. We're in the sunshine, and we are trying to get this into orbit, which is not a problem. It's the same launcher launching slightly less mass, so we actually ditch the ascent stage, while there's still a few drops of fuel left in it. It hurts a bit, but not a problem. So yeah, we just do our very lengthy rendezvous, and luckily it's almost an entire orbit, which means we are still, or rather we are again on the day side. So we have power. Excellent. Now we just try to maneuver this into the station in order to dock it, and we're going to replace the old hub, which now contains 4 chemical engines, with this one for nuclear engines. Oh, you see the shadow? That's nice. Yeah, so we just undock or detach, and then we rotate the entire station away from the engine hub. It's easiest that way, believe it or not. And then fly this new one in to take the old one's place. I wouldn't go so far as to claim that this concept with modular engines are in any way superior to just a conventional design using maybe a bit more powerful launch vehicle and have the nuclear engines as standard on the fuel tankers that need it. But, you know, I haven't seen anyone do this before, and I haven't done it myself before, so yeah, I thought it would be a bit more fun. You know, for one thing, you would get rid of these extra launches just to transport engines up into space. Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? But we have docked, and we have undocked our tug, but now we still have the old hub floating in space. So we're just gonna dock the tug to the hub, the hub tug, and we're gonna deorbit the whole thing. Two problems solved with two birds with one stone. That's the expression. So we got rid of that. It is now debris, and our station have been resupplied with engines. That's not something you do every day. And our tanker has arrived at Minmus. We're just planning our maneuvers to put this thing into a 1 million by 1 million meter orbit, or 1,000 kilometers by 1,000 kilometers. And because our closest approach is significantly lower, we're gonna have to do some orbital back and forth maneuvering. So we're first gonna lower our speed to stop ourselves from escaping, and then we're gonna raise our speed again to circularize the orbit on a higher altitude. But this isn't really a problem. We have efficient engines, and orbital maneuvering around Minmus is cheap. And yeah, you see that the lander from the Gemini mission is still in orbit, and I can't change the type to debris because there is no one commanding it. And I'm using the Kerbal alarm clock to remind myself, or to not warp past the nodes, which is very useful. And now, very soon, when we have established our orbit, we're done for the day. There's only one thing left to do: rename the tanker to Beta Station. And that's it. Goodbye!